take it to the streets and...
You're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Up early this morning, and I know God smiled on me. Ain't no time to sleep, no, no. I can't wait to start my day because I know it's gonna be beautiful like me. Hey, you're so beautiful. You're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Hey, you're so beautiful. You're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. I look into my mirror, I love everything I see. Ain't no mistakes on me, no. I always remind myself there ain't no other me, can't nobody else be. Hey, you're so beautiful, you're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. You can have it all, yeah. Hey you, hey you, hey you, hey you, hey you. Hey you, you're so beautiful. You're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours. It's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Hey you. You can have it all, yeah.
And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, hello to wherever you are tuning in to Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends around the world. So we have so much to talk about this week. So we're going to be bringing you a recap of all the headlines in politics, art, fashion, movies, TV, and everything that everyone's talking about. So, of course, okay, our first hot topic and point to address is a recap of yesterday's midterm elections. So, for people who want to say that your vote doesn't count or voting isn't important, there were so many elections races yesterday that were separated by 2,000 votes that were just neck and neck. So I was excited to see just so many people out at the polls, and it was raining and everybody was out, and all over my Facebook feed everybody was posting that they voted and they were excited and out at the polls. So that's very exciting to see, especially in a midterm, because most people just show up at the presidential election. But of course the midterm elections are just as important, especially when Supreme Court justices are up for appointment. The House and the Senate, of course, are governing bodies which debate and pass legislation. It's equally as important that we make a stand on who we want to be seated in those seats representing us. So here in Pennsylvania, the big news: Governor Governor Tom Wolf just got reelected to another term in office. Senator Bob Casey just got reelected, and the big news and switch, of course, is that the Democrats just took control of the House of Representatives. The final tally is 221 seats for the Democrats and 198 for the Republicans. That, of course, means that the Speaker of the House will now be Nancy Pelosi. And that the Democrats will be controlling and heading up all of the committee, and will be all the committee chairs will be Democratic. So there's already talks about bringing the current administration up for various counts of illegal behavior, and so there's already a lot of stuff in talks in motion. Of course, the Republicans remain in control of Congress, but at least now we have some more equal balance. And of course, one of the groundbreaking wins was Democrat Jared Polis just won the gubernatorial race in Colorado, and he became the first openly gay man to win a gubernatorial election. So that's very exciting. So we have openly gay state representatives and congressmen, but we have yet to have an openly gay governor. So I think that's exciting, and we of course need people representing all groups and demographics in public seats of office. So for everyone who showed up at the polls, let's not forget, to show up in May. Of course, now that the midterms are over, today is the first day of the 2020 presidential election. So everybody is kind of waiting to see who are going to be some of the initial candidates on the Democratic side to go up against our current president, who I still can't bring myself mentally to string his name and the word president together. So we all know who he is, So we'll keep it rolling on that. So, of course, many celebrities were coming out in full force, trying to use their platforms to encourage people to vote and be engaged. I was distressed when I did see a percentage of people on my social media saying that there's no point in voting and I'm staying home, and I say again and again, there's no time and place for complacency and putting our head in the sand. And even if the candidate that you voted for didn't win, the point is that you're exercising your right, and you're being engaged and staking a claim. So, staying home and not voting is not. And then how can you complain? How can you complain what's happening to our country if you're not going to stand up and be counted? And that's the most important thing, is to stand up and be counted. And remember that we all didn't always have these privileges to vote. So, think about all the people who sacrificed their freedom, sacrificed their lives, sacrificed their safety to break down prejudices so that everybody could vote. So, on that note, we start off the show by celebrating our freedom and our rights, and some would say privileges, from other nations that aren't as free and don't have the civil liberties to take for granted that many of us do here in the United States. So we're going to break you off with a little alternate, one of my Throwback Favorites Free. And we'll be back in a few minutes, and then we're going to go into everything that's happening in the world of music, fashion, and the arts. So keep it locked in the Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends, and we'll be right back after this brief break. Hey, Beatrice. So we're bringing the love today. So day after election day, it's all about the love. Okay, so we'll do this, and then soul to soul, and then we'll come back. Yes, and then we'll do I swear they're like watching my feed every day. Last night, I'm on my Facebook and I get notifications playing something from like a month ago. Soul to soul, back to life. know my Instagram keeps pausing and stopping after a few minutes. It probably says, since Facebook owns Instagram, that their big brother in my Instagram too. And welcome back to Style and Empowerment Show with Laura and Friends on Take It to the Streets Radio and London Energy Radios. So there's so much going on in the world of music and TV and fashion. So let's start talking about what's happening in music. So of course, mega producer and husband of Alicia Keys and overall musical multi-talented producer Swizz Beatz just dropped his latest project on Friday, his new CD called Poison. So the 10-track project features guest appearances from artists like Lil Wayne, Pusha T, Nas, Kendrick Lamar, and 2 Chainz. And the album is produced by J. Cole. So the 2 singles are available right now. And Erykah Badu just announced with her Baduism and her bad self that she'll be embarking on a brief winter tour. It's exciting. Erykah hasn't been on tour for a minute, so, and she always gives fantastic shows. So she's going to be on tour between December and February 2019. So on the East Coast, I know she's going to be stopping in Atlantic City. And she said some of the dates are going to have different special guests that are going to be coming. So now Nicki Minaj just had another benchmark accomplishment in her career when she's not busy fighting with Cardi B. So she just became the first woman on the 100 Billboard Hot 100 to have 100 entries on the Billboard charts. And Nicki boasts 17 Hot 100 top singles. And that's reached in the top 10, so that's really exciting. We take our hats off to her. So let's give a little shout out to one of our queens of hip hop, a little Nicki Minaj freedom, and then we're going to jump into some hypnotizing. And so, of course, today's show also, in part, the majority of our playlist is all gems from the boy bands. So we're going to, later on in the show, we're going to be talking all about the influence and importance culturally and in the music industry of the boy band, and how many solo careers have come major icons that actually started out in boy bands. bands. So yeah, so I mean, our playlist today is off the hook. We got some Backstreet Boys, some Jackson 5. Of course, got to throw some Boyz II Men in there. So we're gonna throw you a little Nicki Minaj and one of my favorite throwback, the Notorious B.I.G. cuts. And we'll be back in a moment to talk all about the importance and evolution of the boy band.
They'll never thank me for opening doors, but they ain't even thank Jesus when he died on the cross. Cause your spirit is ungrateful, cause it's so hateful, I remain a staple. My career's been a pink print. When I retire, tell them think pink. Pink Friday is the imprint. And these basic instinct. Hope my commercials on. Did I really body pictures with commercial songs? Did I really prophesy everything I do? But before I continue, let me thank my crew. So that was Young Wayne, Mac Main, Baby and Slim Kane. Tez and E.I. told me it wouldn't be in vain. Cause prior to me signing, I could've went insane. And even now I think, do I really want this fame? Let me get up and go, 700 to go, overseas for a show. Everybody get quiet when I'm starting the show. Man, I'm birthing these artists and I'm starting the show.
I feel freedom. What amen. You should see them burn a L. Cause it's crazy in here, crazy in here, crazy in here. I feel free, I feel freedom. What amen. You should see them burn a L. Cause it's crazy in here, crazy in here, crazy in here.
Who I wanna work with? Nobody. 99% of them is nobody. Bitches acting like they okay. When I check these bitches' guns, nobody's. These niggas is fake folks and opportunists. Niggas when they last dime, they say they cop the soonest. Why these niggas going broke to get your approval? Pretty soon they'll be back up on our ramen noodles. But Bible, Queen is the title. And if you are my rival, then that means you're suicidal. And if you in the club, then it's a Young Money recital. I'm just that vital. I'm busy, never idle. I'm your idol. I'm your idol. I'm your idol. I'm idol. Pink Friday at Macy's, thongs and some pasties. No other female rapper perfume in it, 'cause I must have missed it. 12 milli to kick my feet up. Get ready, this is the re-up.
I feel freedom. What amen. You should see them burn a L. Cause it's crazy in here, crazy in here, crazy in here. I feel free, I feel freedom. What amen. You should see them burn a L. Cause it's crazy in here, crazy in here, crazy in here. Mirror, mirror, won't you realize I just have to decide what you hiding from, what you hiding from. Mirror, mirror, won't you realize I just have to decide what you hiding from, what you hiding from, hiding, baby. Would you give your, would you give your, would you give your all for you? Would you give your, would you give your, would you give your all for you? I feel freedom. What amen. You should see them burn a L. Cause it's crazy in here, crazy in here, crazy in here. I feel free, feel free. What amen. You should see them burn a L. Cause it's crazy in
don't think shit, stink pink gators. My Detroit players, Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn. Dead right, if they head right, Biggie there, air night. Papa been smooth since days of under rules. Never lose, never choose to. Bruise, cruise, who? Do something to us. Talk, go through us. Girls want to us, wanna do us, screw us. Who us? Yeah, Papa and Pump. Close like Starsky and Hutch, stick to clutch. Yeah, I squeeze 3 at your cherry M3. Bang every MC easily. Easily. Recently, niggas frontin' ain't saying nothing, so I just speak my peace, keep my peace. Cubans with the Jesus peace, with my peace. Packing, asking who want it. You got it, nigga, flaunt it. That Brooklyn bullshit, we on it.
Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess that's why they're broken, you're so mean. Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess that's why they're broken, you're so mean.
I put hoes in NY onto DKNY. Miami, DC, prefer Versace. All Philly hoes know it's Moschino. Every cutie with the booty, boy, the coochie. Now who's the real dookie? Meaning who's really the shit? Them niggas ride dicks. Frank White push the 6 on the Lexus LX 4.5. Bulletproof glass tips if I want some ass. Gon' blast squeeze first, ask questions last. That's how most of these so-called gangsters pass. At last, a nigga rapping about blunts and broads, tits and bras, menage a trois, sex and expensive cars, and still leave you on the pavement. Condo paid for, no car payment. At my arraignment, note for the plaintiff. Your daughter's tied up in the Brooklyn basement. Face it, not guilty. That's how I stay true. Richer than richer, so you niggas come and get me. Come on.
Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess that's why they're broken, you're so mean. Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess that's why they're broken, you're so mean.
I can fill you with real millionaire shit. That's cargo, my cargo, 160, swiftly. Wreck it by your new one. Your crew run, your crew run. I know you sick of this name brand nigga with flows. Girl, say he's sweet like licorice. So get with this, nigga, it's easy. Girlfriend, here's a bitch. Call me round 10, come through, have sex on rough, that's Persian. Come up to your job, hit you while you're working, for certain. Papa freaking, not speaking, leave their ass leaking like rapper demo. Tell them who, take their clothes off slowly. Kill them with the force like Obi, dick black like Kobe, watch me roam like Romy. Lucky they don't owe me, where to say, show me, homie.
Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess it's why they're broken, you're so mean. Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess it's why they're broken, you're so mean. Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess it's why they're broken, you're so mean. Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me. And I just love your flashy ways. I guess it's why they're broken, you're so mean. Biggie, 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 can't you see?
And welcome back to this week's edition of Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends on Taking to the Streets and London Energy Radio. So we're just in the happy pocket enjoying one of a classic Notorious B.I.G. You just can't be depressed and listen to Hypnotize. It's just not possible. So your energy isn't right this afternoon. We're going to get you all feeling good. So now let's dive in for our first hot topic of the day. Let's really talk about the influence and evolution of the boy band. So, of course, we have so many iconic boy bands right now that are out on tour. So, of course, Boyz II Men is celebrating the 25th anniversary of their iconic powerhouse CD2. So they're going back on the road in the next couple of months. New Kids on the Block just announced that they're going back on tour. So there's so many of these boy bands that people try to write off that they don't have staying power, but really have. So let's start from the beginning. And so some of the most iconic and influential boy bands of all time. Well, first of all, we have to talk about the Beatles. Now, some people might not classify the Beatles as a boy band, more as a rock band, but in fact they were. And of course, they were one of the first boy bands to become a teen sensation. Some of the powerhouse hits, of course, of the Beatles: Let It Be, Hold Your Hand, Twist and Shout, Hey Jude, and of course, later on, successful solo careers were launched by John Lennon before his passing, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr. All of the members of the Beatles went on to have successful and influential solo careers. George Harrison, of course, who also penned the famous song One Sweet Day. As well. So now let's just kind of talk in decade chronological order here. So, of course, the Beatles were the first big boy band, and then we had the Jackson 5, which, of course, the Jackson 5 were a cultural phenomenon. Everybody was influenced by the Jackson 5 in the 70s and 80s. Of course, they had their own cartoon back in the day. And, of course, the Jackson 5 launched the iconic career of Michael Jackson. The Jackson 5 broke up for a little bit and then reunited in the early 80s for the Victory Tour. Right before Michael went solo. And of course, some of their huge hits, Stop the Love, ABC, Dancing Machine, I Want You Back, I'll Be There, which of course Mariah Carey made famous in the early 90s at the beginning of her career in her MTV Unplugged series, and her rendition of I'll Be There was at the top of the charts for many weeks. Okay, then of course we have a New Edition, which of course then spawned the solo careers of Johnny Gill, Bobby Brown, and then of course Belle Biv DeVoe. Now showing how one boy band is influential in creating the career of another. Of course, Michael Bivins of New Edition and Belle Biv DeVoe discovered and was an early manager of Boyz II Men. And then, of course, we have in the 90s the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, O-Town, Take That, the British boy bands. The heyday of the boy band, of course, was the mid-90s and the early 2000s. And then, of course, we have the British invasion of the boy band. Now, the first, most, next to the Beatles, the next most groundbreaking and influential iconic boy band was Wham!, which of course was comprised of Andrew Ridgeley and the late George Michael. And they were international sensations. They sold at Wembley Stadium. They were on Britain's Top of the Pops. They were just, mammoth records and arena sales. And then, of course, some of their big hits was Careless Whisper, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, I'm Your Man, and of course many of these songs we're going to be playing for you today. So if you're not familiar, you're going to get familiar, and if it's happy memories, we're going to take you down memory musical lane. And of course, George Michael broke away from Wham! In the late 80s with his first solo album, Faith, where he was just pushing away from the whole boy band packaged marketing. And so he had his first iconic music video, Faith, where of course he was in the leather jacket and the jeans, and then the record player machine blows up in the background. So basically that was supposed to symbolize him just breaking away from his image with Wham! And kind of coming back into the music industry on his own terms. Of course, George Michael was not only known for his beautiful voice, his versatility in music, his soulful sound, all the collaborations which he did with the likes of Pavarotti, Andreas Bocelli, Aretha Franklin, but he was also known for his music videos. Actually, his music video Freedom 90, it was the inspiration for Maxwell's new video Shame, which we'll be talking about later on in the show a little bit. So all these artists not only broke ground, but have influenced the groups and artists, not only that were their peers, but have come like decades after them. So now, of course, talking about the juggernaut leaders in the boy bands genre in the 90s. We can't talk about boy bands in the 90s and not talk about the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Boyz II Men, of course. So NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were both created and managed at the time by Lou Pearlman, who later went to jail for all kinds of tax evasion and stuff. But at that time, there really was a formula to the creation and success of the boy band. And so now the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC kind of were each other's competition. NSYNC, of course, launched the career of Justin Timberlake. And, of course, Joey Fatone, who later became pretty much an accomplished TV host. And has done a lot of different things in TV and film. So some of the huge hits of NSYNC, which really was like, these were like the songs of an era, were everywhere on the airwaves and TV and radio, was NSYNC was Bye Bye Bye, let me see, I Want You Back, Tearing Up My Heart, let me see what else. Pop, of course, Gone. So, and NSYNC was really known for their creative music videos. They really kind of, in a sarcastic way, especially in their last CD, the videos supporting their CD Celebrity, where they were breaking away from their original management and found out that Pearlman had been screwing them out of all kinds of money and control and royalties. Yeah, and they're like, oh, gee, we're selling millions of records. How come we don't have much in our bank accounts? Right. And, they sued Pearlman, and I think they sued the record company and got new management. And so when they had their CD No Strings, I think it was, where they were like marionettes and everything, like they really did use, as they grew and matured into adult artists as opposed to teenagers when they first started out. NSYNC really used the music video to their advantage creatively to subtly make statements about being controlled by the labels and now enacting their sense of independence and creative freedom. So, their one song, Every Little Thing You Do, they were toys on a toy shelf, in a toy store on a shelf, and then they come to life and all this stuff is happening. And of course that was symbolic of them saying that they felt they didn't have any control and that they were puppets, which many artists at different points in their career feel that way. Of course, the Backstreet Boys, we can't talk about the boy band without talking about the Backstreet Boys. And actually the Backstreet Boys, that's my group. Yeah, that's Lady C's joint right there, the Backstreet Boys. So we're going to go into some stats and stuff in a minute, but the Backstreet Boys actually is ranked as the best-selling boy band of all time. So, of course, some of their big hits was I Want It That Way, Everybody, Backstreet's Back, As Long As You Love Me. And now the things that really characterize the boy bands, well, first of all,
I like that 98 Degrees.
oh yes, and then there's 98 Degrees, right? And Take That, which launched the career of Robbie Williams. So, like, I'm a traveling encyclopedia of pop culture. But, of course, what really characterized the boy bands, of course, their music videos and performances are always very concentrated with choreography. Usually they have matching outfits, or two of them, the bandmates will be in one kind of matching outfit, and then the other two or three will match. And like I said, there's always a lot of choreography, very stylized, and usually in the videos and the performances, there's a lot of this enacting of emotion and passion, and of course the boy bands are marketed towards teenage girls. So, of course, usually when, unless the group forms themselves, but in a case like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, where these groups were actually formed, and if you want to say casted, by the producer, they usually try and pick like a type, because when they get the marketing plan together, it's with conscious choices that they want each bandmate to appeal to a certain type of young girl. So you'll have, like in the Backstreet Boys, AJ was like the bad boy, okay? And then you have the goody-goody, like Brian, or like Justin Timberlake in Sync. So that's a conscious marketing choice for each bandmate to resonate with different types of girls, because of course we're talking boy bands, 80% of the sales is generated by young teenage girls. Yeah. And of course another major marketing tactic with the boy bands is always, they would always try and kind of keep under wraps if the boy band members got married, or if they had a girlfriend, because from a marketing standpoint, a lot of these executives think, oh, well, the girls aren't going to buy the CDs or feel as connected and be ongoing fans if, they're looking at the singer.
That's true.
And they know they have a girlfriend, or they're married, or maybe they have a boyfriend, whatever. But they think that, oh, well, they'll buy more CDs if they feel, oh, there's a chance that... come on, get real. I don't care if they're married or not. I'm enjoying the music. But, not everybody kind of thinks that way. And from a marketing point of view, that is like an old school tactic with the boy bands. And of course, also talking about some of the influential boy bands, we can't talk about boy bands and not mention One Direction. Of course, they only came out, I think, NSYNC only came out with 3 CDs, but, before they disbanded and took a vacation permanently in 2016, One Direction, of course, was a juggernaut and having hit after hit after hit, and they literally went from... concerts in arenas to stadiums. It was very fast. And of course, all the members of One Direction have gone on to have successful solo careers. So now let's talk about the top-selling boy band hits of all time. Some of the songs on this list I actually did expect, but others I was a little surprised at. So now we're going to look at the influence by numbers. So the number one best-selling boy band song of all time is I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys, which of course we'll be playing for you later in the show. Then I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. What Makes You Beautiful by One Direction, which we're doing a throwback. Of course, that used to be our theme song before we created our custom theme song with Nitika Hemingway. You can have it all, and you know where you can get that on all digital outlets. Then we have Tearing Up Your Heart by NSYNC. Can You Stand the Rain by New Edition. And Step by Step by New Kids on the Block. So now looking at the actual numbers, showing how these bands were just influential in moving units. And of course these boy bands, especially NSYNC, Boyz II Men, they were all known for their distinct fashion styles, which we'll talk about in a minute. But breaking it down by the numbers, NSYNC, who only had, I think, 3 albums, if we don't count like the Christmas album or the greatest hits, right? But actual CDs of new original material. NSYNC had 3 CDs in about 6 or 7 years that they were together as a group, and they sold over 70 million albums. And this was back before people would just download a song for 90 cents. You actually went out to the CD store and flipped through and listened and previewed. So NSYNC sold 70 million albums. Boyz II Men has sold over 25 million albums in the U.S. alone. Of course, Boyz II Men has had many, many accomplishments on the charts, but just talking about some of them. Boyz II Men was the first, their first single was The End of the Road, which of course was not only their first single, but it was their first single to hit number 1. And of course, End of the Road, which debuted in 1992, spent 13 weeks in the number 1 slot of the Billboard charts. Their debut CD, Cooley High Harmony, spent 133 weeks on the Billboard Top 100. So, there's only 52 weeks in a year. So that CD was so powerful and influential culturally that it spent 2 years on the top 200. Of course, some of Boyz II Men's iconic hits, there's so many, but just rattling off some of my favorites. I'll Make Love to You, of course, End of the Road, One Sweet Day, their duet with Mariah Carey, which was like at the top of the charts. And I remember it broke some record from either Elvis or Michael Jackson for something consecutive weeks or top singles back to back. I remember that single alone broke records. Water Runs Dry, 4 Seasons of Loneliness. We're playing that today. My favorites. Thank You. Motown Philly, which of course in the song actually tells the story of how they auditioned for Michael Bivins of Belle Biv DeVoe and New Edition, which then changed their lives and their careers. So many amazing hits that Boyz II Men have just become powerhouses in the industry. Of course, was last year, I believe, or the year before, that Boyz II Men, 2 years ago, Boyz II Men headlined the Wah Wah Welcome America Festival here in Philadelphia, and they actually had a street named after them, very well deserved. Now, breaking down the numbers with the Backstreet Boys. So the Backstreet Boys have sold to date over 100 million records worldwide, and they are considered the best-selling boy band of all time. So more so than the Beatles, the Backstreet Boys are the top-selling group of all time. They are the first artists since Sade to have their first 9 albums all reach the top 10 on the Billboard 200 charts, which is just phenomenal. So people tend to try to trivialize the accomplishments and relevancy of the boy band. But you can see these boy bands are just icons and racking up the numbers. Of course, fashion-wise, Boyz II Men, from what I see, footage-wise, except for their residency show in Las Vegas. Boyz II Men, of course, in their heyday, was always known for their elegant and sophisticated style with street edge, and they were always in beautiful suits, or they had like matching bomber jackets, and they were kind of doing the haberdashery style with the plaid blazers and stuff for a minute, and baseball hats. But Boyz II Men were always known, and actually they were one of the first groups that for men back in the 90s started the trend of the loose fitting suiting jacket, like bright colors with denim jeans. So that was actually a trend that came out of one of Boyz II Men's videos. And their videos were always gorgeous and epic, and like with Biggie Smalls, they were like little movies. Like oftentimes there were these beautiful videos like in waterfalls or in the desert, and just sweeping cinematography, which really then also sucked you into the mood of the song. Of course, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, they really influenced fashion as well. Of course, NSYNC was also known for their crazy hairstyles, and Chris Kirkpatrick's braids,
New Jersey Shore.
Yes, and like NSYNC was all about the hair gel. Okay. Oh my God, the 90s was all about the hair gel for men. so they really influenced fashion a lot. And so, of course, like we were saying, one musical group really influences and has created others. Like the Beatles, you can directly see the success of One Direction and take that. And Wham! Coming from the ground that the Beatles broke. If we look at New Edition, well, from New Edition came Boyz II Men, who we're going to talk about in a second, Belle Biv DeVoe, of course, Boyz II Men, and so many of the other R&B boy bands of the 90s. So, now talking about New Kids on the Block, of course, they hail from Boston, and their big career break was when New Kids on the Block performed at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. They actually, about 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, they did a 30th anniversary performance that they invited some of the, I guess they're hardcore fans too, and they performed all of the songs from their first CD at that concert, including Hanging Tough and Step by Step. And of course, the New Kids on the Block also really followed the boy band formula. You had Donnie, who was supposed to be like the bad boy with the leather jacket, and he was always like, cursing and acting kind of, round the way. And then you had Donnie, who was the muscle head and the quiet type, and then you had Jordan Knight, who was supposed to be like the pretty boy, and then He had his brother Jonathan Knight, who was like the quiet type, and then Joey McIntyre, of course, he was basically the Justin Timberlake of the group, the youngest one, the blonde, the one that's supposed to be like naive, to appeal to the younger girls, and of course. Joey McIntyre has had a successful career acting on Broadway. He's been in many plays and TV shows. He actually met his wife I think they said on a reality show. She's a realtor and she was selling him his house. And of course Jordan Knight's been on a couple of reality shows. I forget what it was called, but on VH1 that reality show that Brigitte Nielsen and Flavor Flav were on, and Corey Feldman back in the early 2000s. He actually was on that show as well. Of course, Donnie Wahlberg, a very successful actor. His first notable role was in The Sixth Sense. He's been on many TV shows, and of course, did him and Jenny McCarthy get married? I forget, but he's together with Jenny McCarthy, another 90s icon. So, all these bands have stayed relevant. There's many boy bands that have come and gone, many, but some of these groups that we've just mentioned, what I call the boy band forefathers, New Edition, Backstreet Boys, Boyz II Men, Belle Biv DeVoe, all these groups have stayed relevant. And many of which, the Backstreet Boys and New Kids on the Block, have had singles and hits within the past few years. Boyz II Men, of course, has continued to maintain their relevancy 30 years into the game. Now, of course, they might not be bringing in the numbers sales-wise that they were in the 1990s, but they still have had many successful CDs since then. Same with Backstreet Boys. They've taken time off, Some have gone into rehab, they've all gotten married, had kids, but also the way that a lot of these groups have stayed relevant and maintained their fan base is by going on tour together. So Backstreet Boys and New Kids on the Block a few years ago, I think they actually did a CD together, or made a song together, and then they went on tour together. New Kids on the Block, and Boyz II Men, like a lot of these groups, instead of in the past being competitors, they're friends and peers, and actually see there's power in uniting in business and commerce. So they all go out on the road together and support one another. So I think it is very important. We talk about a lot about women in the industry and groundbreakers, but it's really important also to pay respect to all the men and the male groups who have really been influencing the culture. And, showing that you can still be relevant, because the entertainment and music industry likes to try and make you feel and head game you that, well, you have to be gimmicky to be successful, or as an artist you only have so much shelf life, or you have to compromise yourself along the way to stay relevant. But when you look at acts like Belle Biv DeVoe and New Edition, who of course they're out on tour. Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, I think it is, or Ricky, Bobby, Ronnie. I know one of the four of them that they had a fight and isn't out on the road with them. But the point is, when you're looking at icons like Boyz II Men, like New Kids on the Block, like New Edition, all these groups, it doesn't matter what's on the charts right now. They've accomplished so much and still remain relevant on their own terms 20, 30 years into the game. So we're going to start out our stroll through Boy Band Lane, and we're going to jump over to and talk about the British boy bands in our first part of our playlist. So we're going to break you off with some of the Beatles, a little Wham, a little George Michael, and One Direction. And I want to say a special shout out to all of my listeners in the UK who hold me down and write in all the time. So a special shout out to one of our listeners who wrote in and let us know how much they enjoyed last week's show and wanted a shout out on this week's show. So special Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friend shout out to Susan Collins from Essex in the UK. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your feedback. And of course, if you want to write in, if you want to request a song or content or give feedback, you can hit me up at any time on the Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friends Facebook page, my Instagram at SRPKLDiva, or just email me, Laura Mazurek, that's MAZUREK.LM@gmail. So let's break it off. Let's get our boy band stroll started with a little Beatles. I Want to Hold Your Hand, and then we're going to go and jump right into Wham. So we'll be back with more Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friends. So take it off.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you something I think you'll understand when I say that something. I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand, I wanna hold your hand. Oh please, say to me, let me be your man. And please, say to me, 'cause I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. Because I gotta have faith. I gotta have faith.
And welcome back to Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends. Take it to the streets and London Energy Radios. And of course, we were just listening to the late and great, multi-talented George Michael. And of course, his iconic hit that started his whole solo career, Faith. Of course, Limp Bizkit did a remake of that in the early 2000s, but you can't imitate the original. So we're going to be continuing our stroll through boy band lane through the rest of the show musically. But now let's move on and talk about what's trending in the world of movies and film. So, of course, Bohemian Rhapsody, the biopic about Freddie Mercury and Queen, was just released this past week, and so it is already touted as a box office success. So the opening weekend, this past weekend, it already did $50 million in the U.S. domestically in its first weekend. So that's just fantastic, especially since it's not an action film or a romantic comedy. It's basically a biography documentary. Of course, the film has a little cameo by Mike Myers, who of course was a part of the Wayne's World a comedic duo with Dana Carvey, and of course in all of their skits they were always playing songs from Queen and Bohemian Rhapsody. So it's kind of cute that Mike Myers made a little cameo in the movie. So now in other big movie news, things that are on the horizon, Oprah Winfrey just announced that she's going to be producing a film version of The Color Purple, making a movie musical with Quincy Jones and Steven Spielberg. And of course, Quincy Jones and Steven Spielberg produced the musical with Oprah, and of course Steven Spielberg directed the film The Color Purple, which helped to launch Oprah Winfrey's acting career and also to push her into superstardom with her TV show, the talk show, The Oprah Winfrey Show, of course. So now they'll be producing it with Warner Brothers Pictures, and so now we have other sequels that are in motion and being announced and moving forward. So Ridley Scott just announced that he's going to be putting together a sequel to The Gladiator. I don't know. That kind of like makes me go, Like, first of all, that the original came out 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. No shade to oh my gosh.
That costs a lot of money to do.
It costs a lot of money, and no shade to Russell Crowe, because he was very influential and important for a period of time, and won some Oscars and stuff. But from what I remember, I think his character got killed off, and I don't really see from that film that there's enough there to have a base for a sequel.
Just don't like when they wait too late.
Yeah, exactly. When there's that much time gap, it really kind of makes it irrelevant and looks like you're just grasping for material. Plus, the other thing I don't like is where they just make so many sequels to a film where they're just eking out the relevancy of the plot. How many Fast and Furiouses do we need? Like, they're driving around in cars, they're chasing things, and things explode, and it's espionage, and people are fighting. Okay, I get it, and it's got hot guys in it. And I mean, it's kind of like how many car chases can you have? How many explosions? How many of this? Even with the Rocky franchise, of course, there was I think 4 or 5 of the Rocky franchise. Then of course there's Creed 1 and 2. Now these have been interesting and kind of reinvented differently, but still it's kind of the same concept, you know. There's a boxer, there's another boxer, they're coming from different sects of life, they're going to fight, their life struggles, they hit it out in the ring, their relationships, and then boom, next thing. I kind of like, how many Rockies do we need to have? How many, like back in the day, the Karate Kid? Okay, it was like Karate Kid Part 1, 5, 10, 12. You know, this kid's karate chopping these people. Okay, he's got the foes. The other House of Cobra Kai. It's like how many times can we basically see the same story? You know, when we start getting to Part 6, 10, 12. It's like, okay, don't we have anything fresh to think about? So now, they also just announced in the Hollywood Reporter that there's a Paddington 3. I didn't even realize that there was a Paddington 2. So okay, so apparently, they're doing a third Paddington Bear movie, and they're also talking about doing another Shrek sequel. Okay, again, to me, that certain sequels are just only about money and milking the franchise, and not saying that there is a plausible creative reason for a new sequel. I don't know how much more we can say about Shrek and Fiona and Donkey that hasn't been said before. And again, it's been so long since there was a Shrek movie.
Yeah. That's not really much going on. Everybody rebooting.
Yeah, and it just seems like in certain ways, at least in the child factor of Hollywood, it kind of looks like they're just straggling for new ideas and content. Now, of course, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence just also announced that they're bringing back a new reboot of their franchise, Bad Boys.
Oh, I gotta see that.
Yeah. So now, of course, that one I'm kind of still feeling in for, because they just had such great on-screen chemistry. And of course, Bad Boys was one of the early films in Will Smith's career that really launched him as an action hero, because right after Bad Boys, the first one, he did Independence Day, which of course was one of his first blockbusters, and then from there, he starred in so many action films and everything, but kind of seems to me that Martin Lawrence needs this film more right now than Will Smith. So, but we know it'll be funny, and it's gonna be cute and give us some laughs. So now, the other thing happening in the world of film, well, this is kind of film and TV, is that Melissa McCarthy will receive the first People's Choice Icon Award at the People's Choice Award this Sunday. So Melissa is being honored for her TV and film work. And then, of course, what is her name? Keep escaping me. Rebel Wilson. Okay, so let's just talk for a second before we get into the world of film. So something else that's trending out there right now that people are a little bit up in arms. So of course, Rebel Wilson is part of the new Ghostbusters movie, and so she was on Ellen recently, and she was talking about how she was excited to be holding up the flag and being the first plus-size actress to be the feature star of a romantic comedy. So, of course, the whole Twitter universe and social media got up in arms because, as we know, Rebel Wilson is not the first. Queen Latifah and Monique were starring in blockbuster romantic comedies before Rebel Wilson was even on Saturday Night Live. So if you're going to claim to be the first at something, you have to actually do your research, and that was a real slap in the face and disrespect to the actresses who are breaking the ground that you got to walk on. So, of course, Queen Latifah, we talked about her in yesterday's show, last week's show. Feels like yesterday. So, of course, she starred in romantic comedies like Just Right, Beauty Shop, Bringing Down the House, Taxi, on and on, so many films. And Monique, of course, starred in the movie Fat Girls. And then we even have the Tyler Perry movies, which many of them feature plus-size actresses in lead roles. So for Rebel Wilson to go around saying she's the first, Rebel, let's get our facts correct, and let's pay respect to the ladies who laid the groundwork for you. So, of course, everybody came and clapped back on that, and Rebel kind of dismissed it a little bit, and then they were saying that she actually was blocking some of her critics on her social media, which I think is doubly irresponsible. So I actually am not really a fan of Rebel Wilson. I think if I'm going to be honest and blunt, I find her crass and tacky. I don't find her classy and elegant, and I find that the way that she presents herself on film in such a kind of tacky, clumsy, clod-like way actually sets the movement of plus-size women in film and media wanting to be treated with respect. It just sets us backwards. So for her to then, on top of which, turn around and act like she's the first at something, and she's only 20-something years old, sweetie, go read some books. Go to go rent some movies, because you weren't the first at anything. And comedians like Queen Latifah didn't have to sell tickets by lifting their skirt up on camera and basically acting like a buffoon on film, and not putting plus-size women in a positive light. So I'm definitely not feeling somebody who's trying to say that they're the first at something when they're not. And on top of which, disrespecting those who came before you, and on top of which, just not taking accountability in a real way when people call you out. So you may be part of a lineage of plus-size actresses, but you are not a groundbreaker in anything unless we're going to talk about being tacky. So when we come back, we're going to talk all about what's trending in the world of TV and fashion, and of course we have a new Sexiest Man Alive to talk about. So let's jump back on to the boy band train, and my big love and heart to my London listeners. So we're taking it way back to the first Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friend's theme song, Little One Direction, That's What Makes You Beautiful. And we'll be back after this.
You're insecure, don't know what for. You're turning heads when you walk through the door. Don't need makeup to cover up. Being the way that you are is enough. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. So come on, you got it wrong. To prove I'm right, I put it in a song. I don't know why you're being shy and turn away when I look into your eyes. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know you're beautiful. Baby, you light up my world like nobody else. The way that you flip your hair gets me overwhelmed. But when you smile at the ground, it ain't hard to tell. You don't know, you don't know you're beautiful. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you and I can't believe you don't know. You don't know you're beautiful. You don't know you're beautiful. That's what makes you beautiful. Maybe it's the way she walked straight into my heart and stole it through the doors and past the guards, just like she already owned it. I said, can you give it back to me? She said, never in your wildest dreams. And we danced all night to the best song ever. We knew every line. Now I can't remember how it goes, but I know that I won't forget her. 'Cause we danced all night to the best song ever. We went oh oh oh, we went yeah yeah yeah. I think it goes. Said her name was Georgia Rose, and her daddy was a dentist. Said I had a dirty mouth. I got a dirty mouth. But she kissed me like she meant it. I said, can I take you home with me? She said, never in your wildest dreams. And we danced all night to the best song ever. We knew every line. Now I can't remember how it goes, but I know that I won't forget her. 'Cause we danced all night to the best song know, you know, I remember you, and I know, you know, I hope you remember how we danced. How we danced. 1, 2, 3. How we danced all night to the best song ever. We knew every line. Now I can't remember how it goes, but I know that I won't forget her. We danced all night to the best song ever. Danced all night to the best song ever. We knew every line. Now I can't remember how it goes, but I know that I won't forget her. We danced all night to the best song ever. Best song ever. It was your best song ever. It was your best song ever.
And thanks for tuning in to Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends. And we're here listening to the best song ever, a little One Direction.
To the Shoes TV. Hello.
oh, did we lose our caller?
Yeah.
All right, well,
Somebody calling in.
all right, well, call back. So if you want to call in and be part of the conversation, you can dial us at 267-530-9384. So we're here, caller. You can call back. So now let's talk about what's going on in TV right now. So, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff happening with the Atlanta Housewives crew here. So, of course, in sad news, Nene Leakes just revealed that her husband, Greg Leakes, has stage 3 colon cancer. So they actually discussed this on the season premiere this weekend of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. So apparently Greg was diagnosed in May after he was experiencing severe stomach pain, and he had to go in for emergency surgery. And they actually said if he had waited a day longer that he would have passed away. So I mean, we can't say enough that really we have to listen to our bodies. And I know we get busy and in the grind and hustle of life and everything. So, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll check that out tomorrow. But sometimes the things we ignore today will make us not be here tomorrow if we don't take care of it. So, especially for men, who statistically, I mean, women get colon cancer too, but statistically more men die of colon cancer, and of course prostate cancer as well. So it's so important if you're seeing changes to your sudden changes and symptoms, go to your doctor and don't mess around with that. And so in baby news, of course, Kenya Moore, Gone with the Wind, fabulous. Gone with the Wind, fabulous. Just gave birth to her first child, Brooklyn Davis. Of course, the child was named Brooklyn after where her and her husband met, and it's Brooklyn Doris, and Doris after her late grandmother who raised her. And she actually did have some pregnancy complications, and Portia Williams, of course, her former castmate, was just hospitalized due to experiencing extreme pain from a fibroid tumor complications. So especially if that's something that you battle with, you really, once you're pregnant, have to check that out, because there really are lots of different conditions and complications that can happen while you're pregnant. So yeah, we wish them good health and health for their babies as well. So now I'm talking about the world of fashion. So lots of exciting things going on, and I really like it when brands take a real stand on what's going on in the world and use their brand to bring attention to things. In fashion news, let's see, so much to talk about. All right, the Brooklyn Nets just revealed their latest City Edition jersey, which is going to be a tribute to Brooklyn-bred rapper Notorious B.I.G. So the jersey will incorporate colored trim and fashion details that reference the Coogie sweater that Biggie made iconic in many of his music videos, and Biggie's iconic Versace shades that he wore in his music video "One More Chance" are actually in a limited edition reissue by Versace, so we can all kind of go out and get a little piece of B.I.G. And now Cardi B just revealed that she signed a deal with Reebok. So Cardi's first collaboration with the long-lasting sneaker brand will feature a revival of the Aztec sneaker that'll retail for $90. And she will also help promote a few clothing items in their sportswear line. And now Diesel, the denim luxury brand Diesel, is doing something very cool, stepping out in the bullying and anti-bullying lane. So Diesel has tapped some of the music and entertainment industry's most prominent figures for their new initiative, Hate Couture, which is a play on words from Haute Couture. And Diesel's new t-shirt line teamed up with Gucci Mane, Nicki Minaj, Bella Thorne, and others to model items from the collection. And in the marketing campaigns, the meanest quotes from Twitter that have been said about each of these celebrities will be underneath the t-shirt that they're wearing. And so the proceeds from the sales of the new Diesel shirts will support various anti-bullying programs and charities, which I think is really, really cool. So now talking about someone else that's really cool and a leader and fabulous. So as we know, Colin Kaepernick recently partnered with Nike. So they just released this past Thursday the Colin Kaepernick Nike Icon tee, which was released October 25th, and it's already sold out online. So the shirt, which retails for $50, is still available at select retail stores, but you just can't order it online. And Colin Kaepernick actually has on his Facebook and social media links to what stores sell the t-shirt. So this was the first piece from the collection that was to be released, and with more items to come in the upcoming months. So it's really showing off the gate that this partnership is just, I really feel like this is going to be this generation's partnership, like with Michael Jordan, or I Want to Be Like Mike, and I really see this partnership being able to have the same cultural power and monetary influence that Bo Jackson had in the 90s with Bo Knows and other sports icons. So I'm excited for the statement that that's going to make. So of course the t-shirt is all black, and it has Nike black swoosh sign on it, as well as Colin Kaepernick's logo and his quote saying, "Believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything. And I think that's a rule of life that everybody can really benefit from implementing, because we all need to take a stand and stand for something. They say if you don't stand for everything, anything, you'll fall for anything. So now, in other fashion news, I'm excited to spotlight that the plus-size retailer Torrid, who actually I'm out wearing one of their shirts. I was feeling like the love this morning, so afternoon. Torrid just started and launched the Torrid Foundation and the initiative She Should Run program, which provides resources for women considering running for public office by providing community resources and growth opportunities. So their goal is to help 250,000 women run for office by the year 2030, which I think is fantastic that Torrid is not only creating clothes for women and helping them feel empowered. Hey, Luke! But they're also putting their commerce where their mouth is and providing resources for women to assume elected leadership positions. So in the month of November here in the U.S., all Roundup donations at the point of purchase will go to the She Should Run organization, which is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering women. Torrid CEO Liz Muniz was quoted as saying that we want to empower women to feel strong, beautiful, and inspired to live their dreams. So I think that is fantastic that Torrid is stepping out and really making a stand and bringing resources to women so they can run campaigns and they can be, part of the government process. And of course, how can we represent equally the rights of all of our citizens if we don't have people who look like us and who walked in part of our life in our shoes in holding office? So now in other pop culture news, so we're excited. Of course, every year People Magazine crowns their sexiest man alive. So I kind of chuckle at this. So I think, well, what happens when that year is up? Is that man no longer considered sexy? But British actor Idris Elba was just named People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive. Of course, Idris has been in the Sexiest Man Alive issue many times before, but this is the first time that Idris has actually been on the cover. So hats off to Idris and his sexy self. So Idris Elba, of course, is one of the few black men to hold this title, only one of three. So, of course, Denzel Washington was the first in 1996, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson also held the title of Sexiest Man Alive in 2016. So Idris was born in England, and he is part Syrian and part Ghanaian. In his free time, besides being amazing and sexy, he's a drummer, a DJ, he's a professional kickboxer, and Idris actually describes his fashion style as relaxed and comfortable, and that he starts every day with 50 push-ups. So, I mean, hats off to Idris, because when I wake up in the morning, there's times that I do sleep. The last thing I want to do is do push-ups. So hats off to Idris. So now, when we come back in a few minutes, we're going to talk about, he got inspired. So there's so many great men doing good things out there, in the world of philanthropy and using their platform for good. So we're going to take a musical break and jump right into more of our influential boy bands, starting off with the Jackson 5 Dancing Machine. And when we come back, we're going to break down all the industry hotties that are doing good and trying to make the world a better place. So we're spotlighting the men this week on Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friends. So keep it locked in. The Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Friends on Take It to the Streets and London Energy Radios, and we will be right back.
Dancing, dancing, dancing. She's a dance machine. Oh, baby, move it, baby. Automatic, systematic, full of color, self-contained. Tuned and channeled to your vibes. Captivating, stimulating. She's such a sexy lady. Filled with space and design.
She's moving, she's grooving, dancing until the music stops now. Yeah.
Rhythmatic, acrobatic, she's a dynamite attraction. At the top of the coin, she goes live. Yeah, she knows what she's doing. She's super bad now. She's here to really blow your mind. Dancing, dancing, dancing.
She's a dance
She, oh baby, do it, baby. Dancing, dancing, dancing.
She's a dance
She, oh baby, move it, baby. She's a dance, 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 dancing machine. Watch it get down, watch it get down, as she do her thing right on the scene. She's a dance, 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 dancing machine. Watch it get down, as she do her thing right on the scene. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Move it. Move it. Shake it, baby. Shake it, baby. Move it. Move it. Dance, 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 dancing machine. Watch it get down, as she do her thing right on the scene. She's a dance, 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 dancing machine. Watch it get down, as she do her thing right on the scene. She's a dance, 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 dancing machine. Watch it get down, as she do her thing right on the scene. She's a dance, 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 dancing machine. Watch it get down, as she do.
Without knowing that life brings a change, and they've been checking all the signs. My friends say I'm lovesick 'cause all I keep thinking about is her in my arms, and I won't be the same until she is mine. And my friends keep telling me to cool it down. Watch out, gonna lose control. Cool it down.
with her mind. If she feels the same, she'll let you know. Just prepare yourself and be ready to go. And I hope this message stays in your mind, cause you almost lost a girl who was right on time.
There's one more thing that you got to know. Just cool it down and stay in control. Cool it down.
You got to cool it now. Watch out. You're gonna lose control. Cool it down. You better slow it down. Cause you're gonna fall in love. And all I keep thinking about is her in my arms. And I'll never be the same until you are mine. Oh, listen to me, let me tell you.
Why you all coming down on me, trying to tell me how my life is supposed to be? I know you're only trying to help me out, trying to show me what life is really about. But this time I'm gonna make it on my own. So why don't you fellas just leave me alone? Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky and Mike. If I love the girl, who cares who you like?
Cool it down. You got to cool it now. Watch out. You're gonna lose control. Cool it down. Better slow it down. Slow it down. You're gonna fall in love. Cool it down. Slow it down. Cool it down. Slow it down.
Doesn't feel the same. This loneliness has crushed my heart. Please let me love again. 'Cause I need to release my pain. All four seasons will bring the light from the
with Laura and friends on London Energy and Take It to the Streets Radio. So back in the day, Evolution, and two, I can tell you how many times. Now again, this was back when we bought CDs and we didn't just download them. I think each of those CDs I must have bought maybe 4 copies just from listening to them over and over and over again. And those songs are timeless and they're always beautiful every time you listen to it. It's like the first time. So now, let's switch our focus and talk about some of the male hotties out there, the sexy men out in the world of entertainment and fashion and music who are out there doing good to help enrich the lives of others beyond just through their art and bring attention and resources to many worthy causes. So the first do-gooder that we're going to profile here is actor Orlando Bloom, who has been a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, and he travels the globe to visit communities that the organization serves throughout Africa and all around the world. And then, of course, our next hottie do-gooder is Matt Damon. So he is one of the co-founders of Water.org, which he is personally invested in solving the global crisis of the lack of access to clean water and sanitation facilities. So then we have Ryan Reynolds, who, of course, has partnered with the Make-A-Wish Foundation many times, which, of course, grants wishes to terminally ill child cancer patients. And then, of course, we have Luda from the ATL, Ludacris, who frequently covers the expenses of fellow shoppers and has, on the low key, he loves to go into grocery stores and just pick up the tab. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like, I love hearing these kind of stories where celebs are out there doing good to help other people, and it's not because their publicist said they should be affiliated with a charity that's going to look good for their image. They're just doing it because they want to help people, and it's not about getting the headlines. It's about helping people. So shout out to Ludacris. So of course George Clooney. George Clooney is like a fine wine. It just gets better with age. We all love George Clooney. George Clooney, of course, founded the civil rights organization Not on Our Watch with actor Don Cheadle and I believe Brad Pitt and some of his other influential fellow actor friends. So the Not on My Watch Foundation focuses global attention and resources to end atrocities and genocides around the world. So now our next sexy man doing good on our list is Leonardo DiCaprio. Of course, the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, which was founded in 1998, has been a leader in calling for environmental reform to raise awareness and support for environmental conservation and all policy concerns regarding the preservation of our environment and the animals and the rainforests and the oceans. And of course, Leonardo DiCaprio actually has testified at the G8 summit before. And so now, of course, our next, a sexy man doing good. We couldn't leave Maxwell off this list. So, of course, Maxwell has lent support to many charities, including the ACLU, which is the American, It's the American Civil Liberties Union. So that is the nonprofit organization that you can turn to if you feel that you've been a victim of discrimination in the workplace and you want to sue. They provide free legal advice and counsel. Of course, he's been a member of the LGBT charity GLAAD. He's also been a supporter of the Global Poverty Project. And he's a part of the Artists for Peace and Justice. He's also a supporter of Planned Parenthood, which, I feel, especially in election years, people run off and just think that Planned Parenthood is just about providing abortions. No, Planned Parenthood is also about providing gynecological care for women from different socioeconomic groups where they couldn't normally afford it. They provide education, they provide birth control, they provide rape counseling. Planned Parenthood provides a whole spectrum of very needed services with women's health, and part of feeling empowered and loving yourself and having self-esteem is taking control of your body and what happens to your body and your health. Of course, Maxwell has also partnered in supporting UNICEF and the Red Cross. Now, most recently, under the do-gooding headline for Maxwell, of course, as you know, we talked about 3 weeks ago, he just released his current single, Shame. So now the music video was just released about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And so this song and video is really Maxwell taking a leadership role yet again, and speaking directly to women about loving themselves. In this song, Shame, he's specifically talking to women of color about loving yourself and not being ashamed of yourself, of your skin tone, of everything that makes you you. But this, of course, is a song all women can relate to, and even men too. We've all, in one way or another, had society try to put their judgment on us and make us feel that something about ourselves is something that we should be ashamed about as we authentically live our lives. And so the music video is actually influenced by George Michael's video for Freedom 90, and it features a cross-section of models, and they're veiled in the video, and that's symbolizing the shame that a lot of women feel. And so in the video, they're symbolically taking the veils off at different points and artistically saying that they're embracing who they are with pride, and then they're not ashamed of who they are. So, the singer also started the social media campaign #NoShame, in which he's encouraging women to post videos coming out and saying things in their life that they've been shamed about. And then turning it around that they feel good about themselves and that they're embracing, these things about themselves that people try to make them feel that they're less than. So, I applaud these artists who are using their cultural power and platform to say that all women are worthy and beautiful, and you can't walk this life without someone out there at some point trying to make you feel that who you are isn't good enough and that you need to change who you are to please them. So, I applaud these artists who are speaking directly to women to empower them. So I encourage everyone to come out with their #NoShame and speak out about whatever you've been bullied about or suppressed, and know that you are good enough and you are worthy and you are beautiful. So now our last hottie that we want to spotlight, that do-gooder, is the one and only Ricky Martin, who of course came to fame with the Latin powerhouse boy band Menudo back in the 80s, of course, with that group, which I don't think Menudo's around anymore, but they used to rotate the members of the group every couple of years because you couldn't be older than 16 to be in that group. So, of course, Ricky Martin rose to fame with Menudo. His first crossover American hit in the late 1990s was Living La Vida Loca, which you couldn't turn anything on without hearing Living La Vida Loca back in the day, and Shake Your Bon Bon and She Bangs. And so, along with just being a groundbreaker in all areas of music, the Ricky Martin founded the Ricky Martin Foundation, which draws attention to and combats human trafficking of children and young women. And Ricky Martin was actually compelled, I think it was about 8 years ago, he was working with UNICEF, and he was in a trip in India, and he actually witnessed 3 women being abducted, and they were about to be sold into slavery. And for anyone who doesn't know what white slavery means, that means you're kidnapped and you're forced into a life of prostitution against your will. And Ricky Martin actually rescued these 3 women, and then was just so affected by the situation that he then committed to raising awareness and education to stop and eradicate white slavery around the world. And 100 million women are victims of white slavery yearly around the world. Now, Ricky Martin focuses a lot of his attention in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean. And of course, you can visit Ricky Martin's website and for the Ricky Martin Foundation and find out how you can support and be a sponsor. Of course, Ricky Martin has adopted several children. So some of the other causes that he supports are Habitat for Humanity, which of course provides housing for underprivileged people. And you actually, when you enroll in the Habitat for Humanity program, you actually have to take part in helping to build your home. And he has also been a supporter of Music for Relief, the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, AMFAR, which of course raises awareness and funding for victims of HIV and AIDS. So Ricky Martin has always been using his influence to draw light on many social issues. But I applaud him because, these artists, they don't have to do this. they could just be wealthy and off in their mansions and, dating and luxuriating. But I take my hat off to men like a Ricky Martin or a Maxwell or, even an Enrique Iglesias, who are specifically choose among the many organizations they support, but they choose to be very vocal with organizations and causes that speak to the self-worth and self-esteem of women. And of course, disrespect is a learned behavior. We are social creatures, so when you're a male that has an influential platform, I really feel that you have an obligation socially to influence other men in a positive way, to treat women in a respectful way, because that's the only way that we're going to break certain cycles, and we're going to have less Me Too's, we're going to have less sexual harassment suits, and women feeling that their voices and rights, aren't equally heard. So applaud to all of the fantastic men out there in the world of entertainment who are out there not only entertaining us, but fighting to make the world a better place. So we've come to the end of this week's edition of Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Fens on Tickets to the Streets and London Energy Radio. We're going to close out with one of the super boy band classics, the Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way, taking us home on our stroll of boy band memory lane. We'll be back next week with more Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Fens. You can follow me on Instagram on @SRPKLDiva and on the Facebook page for Style and Empowerment Chat with Lauren Fens. I hope everyone has a fantastic, empowered day and is knowing your worth, loving yourself, and feeling beautiful and fantastic. Male or female, know your power, know your worth. We love you, and we'll be back next week. Until next time, stay strong and stay beautiful. And we're out.
Yeah, you are my fire, the one.
Alright, here we go. We're taking it back old school together.
When I say I want it that way, that we are two worlds apart, can't reach to your heart. When you say I want it that way, tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Am I your fire, your one desire? It's too late, but I want it that way. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way.
They never tell us what that way is. They just say they don't want it that way, but they never say what that way is.
Yeah, no matter the distance, I want you to know that deep down inside of me, you are my fire, the one desire. You are. Don't wanna hear you say that.
a wonderful day.